I would say that do not buy NFTs as a way of flipping it or thinking about it. Be invested in them. Have fun, right? This is a new world that's being created in front of us. Be motivated, think creatively, participate, engage, right? Like that's how you actually make the best use of this opportunity in front of us. Not by reading some articles or being part of those, buy sell community.
Yeah.
People will make money. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's more about soaking it in, enjoying yourself, and yeah, I really enjoy myself in the communities that I'm a part of.
Today we're gonna talk about what I really wanted to talk to you about is this Web3 which is everywhere, right? Metaverse, NFTs, blockchain. There's a lot of confusion. It's really a new world that people are stepping into, and people are actually going crazy for it, right? Like I heard someone buying a virtual land piece for millions of dollars, right? Someone buying there's even in India people are buying Bolly coin moments of their favorite cricket moments and favorite basketball moments for so much lot of money. So why don't you start by decoding what is Web3 for us? Right?
Sure. I mean, look, people much smarter than me are writing, reading, creating content about Web3. But I think one of the best definitions that I've heard for Web3 is the one which is also quite popular, is by Chris Dixon from A16, right? That Web 1.0 was read only, Web 2.0 was read and write, and Web 3.0 is read, write, and own. Now, this own piece is really where Web3, blockchain, and the interplay between them happens. What it really stands and signifies for is that, I used to play Age of Empires as a kid when I was growing up, right? And on Age of Empires, you used to accumulate assets, and like I was pretty good at it, right? I still have some YouTube gameplays from my Age of Empires days. Okay. And much like there's a very famous story with Vitalik and World of Warcraft and how he started Ethereum. But sometime around, I would say 2008, I also felt the same thing. Same thing happened to me. Age of Empires launched a new version. They downgraded all the assets that I held, right? Mm-hmm. And suddenly the value of my game and my gameplay just substantially reduced.
Right.
What that meant was that they were a centralized server or centralized body that was controlling Age of Empires, or in Vitalik's case, World of Warcraft, that had the power to change the value of those assets permanently, right? Which would render what you were doing earlier useless, right? That is when you, like, obviously Vitalik went on to start Ethereum after that. I went on to start playing FIFA. So I guess we both have different paths. But what that really means here is that there is value to certain things that you put in, right? In terms of your time, effort, money, right?
Right.
And who really owns that asset? In Web 2, it was the centralized server, right? The centralized company, like Age of Empires creator. In Web 3, potentially you can own those assets. Right? And that is where the concept of ownership really kicks in. Now, what blockchain provides you is a means for verifying, validating, auditing, and creating that infrastructure which allows you to own that stuff. Right? In an immutable form, in a way that it is not double counted, in a way that it is that hopefully no central authority will be able to remove stuff, right? So when you play PUBG now, the skin that you get is owned by PUBG, right? And right, they would do a rare drop today, call it a rare drop today, and then they would, flood it with the market 1 month later.
Yeah.
And the value of your rare skin is not as much anymore.
Right.
And anyways, you don't own it, right? So you can't take your skin from PUBG and then take it to God of War, for example.
Right.
Potentially in the future, what could happen is you could own that skin, right? And you could take it from PUBG to some other game and use it there as well, right?
Okay.
Right now I don't think we are on that roadmap. But I think at least with the entire NFT ecosystem and the blockchain ecosystem, we are getting close to that. We are seeing the path for that to happen, right? At least we are seeing some of that happen in the closed loops games, right? For example, Let me give you an example, right? So think about it this way. If I am a game developer, right, and I have 5 sports games. So I have a cricket game, I have a football game, I have a tennis game, I have a basketball game, one more volleyball game, whatever. So with blockchain, can I create at least for now, what is doable is that can I create a closed loop ecosystem where if you buy an India jersey or you create your own custom jersey in the cricket game, can you take that to the football game, to the basketball game, to the volleyball game, and to the tennis game, right? Can all your players across those games wear the same jersey that you designed in one of the games and then transport it across?
Right.
That is what truly the ownership means, right? And then if you become a really popular gamer on Twitch playing those games, who owns the rights for you to not just use that in a digital format, but also, partner with Adidas and license it out and, sell it on Adidas stores. Right. So just like you have a Chennai Super Kings jersey, could you have a Aman's 11 jersey? Right.
Good.
So, but could we see a path to that? I think we're much closer to that happening now than we were 5 years ago. And it won't have been possible if Web3 wasn't around, right? So I think Web3 from that standpoint is the whole ethos of saying that we don't trust the central institutions, and there are philosophical challenges with that as well, right? But at a broad level, that we don't trust and we don't want to trust central institutions. What we believe is in distributed ownership and governance, and distributed ownership rights, right? And how do we enable that? We enable that through blockchain.
Right. So I really like the concept of, how beautifully this NFT concept fits in the gaming industry specifically, right? I've been a gamer myself. I understand, when like gamers are actually very crazy when it comes to, buying all those skins and, earning them. So it's like earlier you used to earn those skins, right? But now you can actually monetize on whatever you have earned, actually. So it's like more like productizing yourself in that Web3 world, right, as a person. So and also so Tushar, you worked in Kalaari, right, for around more than 2 years, around 2 years, and then post that you have joined Alpha Wave, right? And I remember having a conversation with you where you were telling that you've been actually making a thesis on investing in projects in the Web3 spaces, right? So I think yesterday I was reading one of Vani's tweet, or I think it was LinkedIn post where she posted something on the spaces to look up to for next year, right? And gaming, I understand. So they were like play and earn space was there, right? Where you can play and earn in terms of cryptos or earn in terms of NFTs and all these spaces, right? So, but apart from gaming, right? When I see people buying like a picture of ape, right, and paying somewhere around in terms of cryptos value for around 1 or 2 lakh rupees, right, for just one picture, right? And there are probably 5,000 replicas of the same picture but with different expressions, right? It kind of don't make sense to how does it make sense for a consumer to own an NFT? Like from apart from the gaming world, I understand gaming, you have different perspective, but
so look, at a very philosophical and broad level, what does an NFT signify? An NFT is a digital asset, right? Like that's what it is. It is a digital asset which is verifiable, which is secure, and what the scarcity is or what the limitations are of that project, right? So if someone says that I'm taking out 10,000 ape pictures with 170 different characteristics, right? And each ape picture will be different from the other. So know what you're getting into. You know that 10,000 is not going to suddenly become 100,000, right? So there is scarcity value there, right? Now, I raise your proposition, right? That when in the pre-internet world, what would people spend their money on, right? They would spend their money on nice houses, fast cars, fast bikes, right? Stuff like that.
Tangible
stuff, right? Whatever. I would say that there is an entire market of luxury stuff, right? And what does that signify? Will you say that is a Versace bag better than, I don't know, like a Baguette bag? I mean, or like any other bank that you will get somewhere, it does the same utility. It serves the same function, right?
Right.
But there is a certain notional association that you have with a Versace bag that you do not have with some other brand, right? And hence you choose to pay whatever premium you pay for it. I'm sure the quality is different. I'm sure it is more durable. I'm sure it maybe even looks better, right? But could you create a replica of a Versace bag and sell it in like Palika Bazaar, which has been happening for donkey years? Yes, you can, right? Does that mean that Versace does not have any value? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So one thing is that there is value in building brands, in associating with brands, and looking at scarcity. Now, can you transport that to the digital world as well? If in the analog world, if I was spending lots of money on cars, but now I'm spending a lot of my time in the digital world, then why should I not spend money on acquiring digital assets which are considered to be luxurious, right? Or digital assets which are considered to be scarce, or digital assets which signify something for me, right? So at a philosophical level, I would say that, right? Like, and valuations are valuation, right? They are your opinion versus mine, right? I mean, we face that question even in our Web2 business. We face that question in public markets, right? Everyone faces that question at our Who is to say that is 20x price on earning a justified price, or is 50x price on earnings a justified?
Right.
It's all opinion. It's all like some analyst is putting some variables in a DCF model somewhere, and that is what wreaks havoc, right? So I mean, I won't comment on valuation, because I think valuation will keep correcting, valuations will keep going up. I think that's not philosophically why we are having this discussion on the NFT side. Right? Now the question is that what more can it do, or what more does it signify? Just to give an example, right? You use the Bored Apes example, so let me just give you that. Right? I was in Miami a few weeks ago, and there was a literal yacht party that only people who held the Bored Apes could go to.
Right. I heard about it.
Right. And obviously, I don't own a Bored Ape myself because it's quite expensive. But theoretically, if you want to be a part of that community, will you not think of this as an entry fee and go there? Right? If you want to be a part of that community. If you don't, then you don't care, right? Which is fine. You should. But what I saw there was people were buying Bored Apes in Miami itself just so that they could go to that party. Right? And it was very likely that as soon as they get out of the party, they would sell it to someone else, right? And then someone else would see some other value in it and would buy it, right? So much like beauty, value also lies in the eyes of the beholder. And obviously, the more utility layers you add to your NFT, now I'm talking about as an NFT developer, right? Or a project creator, the more utilities you add to your NFT project, the higher is the propensity for someone to value it for at least something, right? So hence you will see, which is why gaming is emerging as a great use case. Right. But does that mean that is gaming the only use case, or is access, vanity not a use case? Probably not, right? On the other side of the spectrum, I think what is underappreciated right now, and I'm seeing that happen in different places also, is NFTs just unlocking illiquid supply to signify again ownership. So what that means is that someone was giving this example that there's some very famous vineyard in Napa Valley, right, in the US, and like it's supposed to be very premium. Like bottles is like one case is like I think $10,000 a pop, right? So it's premium wine, and they have a certain lot, right? They have a certain growing area where they can grow it. And you can only grow that wine in that specific plot of whatever X acres that they have. And because the soil, the water is not the same if you go beyond those X acres. So you have a constrained supply there. Now they can only say produce, again, for an argument's sake, 1,000 cases a year. But because they're so popular, they have a backlog where people pay money to just be in the wait list, right? So they have a 12-year long wait list to get access to that wine. Now, from a supplier's perspective, like the guys who make that wine, they know that we have a specific supply, which is fixed, which is 1,000 cases a year. And we know that we can get X dollars of $10,000 of price per wine, per case, right? So we are done. We have sold off our supply for the next 12 years. We are good, right? Like we have our revenue coming in, it's locked in, everything is good. But what that does not do is, it does not allow them to capture any excess demand. And what I mean by that is that, let's say I hold like I'm in the wait list for that wine, and I'm, let's say, 5 years out from getting my wine case, right? But hey, I don't want it anymore. Now I don't get a refund. Maybe I will. I don't know. But what they started doing is they started giving each person an NFT which signifies their entitlement to get wine in a certain year, right? So Tushar gets a T plus 5 year NFT, which signifies that in T plus 5 years, Tushar can redeem this and get his wine case, which is great. But because it's an NFT, it's a digital asset, which is again verified, immutable, fraud proof, right? So I can sell it to you, Aman, right? And you can buy that from me at whatever price you deem fit, right? So it could be $10,000, it could be $15,000, it could be $5,000, and whatever, and wherever the prices meet, you pay me that amount. So I'm not entitled to the wine anymore because I don't hold the NFT. You get to keep the NFT, right? Hence, you become entitled to the wine. And what the vineyard gets is like a commission on the trade, right? So it's a 2% commission. So it opens up a completely new revenue stream for them, just because they are able to verify who's the owner at a particular point of time and create a liquid marketplace. Right? So it's not just for digital assets there. It is for even analog assets that you can see creative use cases come up. And that is again because of the fundamental characteristics and attributes that blockchain brings to you, right? Which is, it is completely verified, it is fraud proof, right? And if you can create a liquid market around it, nothing like it.
Right. So, like, I think this is great thing that you put out, that how it unlocks liquidity in the market, right? Apart from whatever. So I think liquidity based on utility or based on ownership, right? I think it's seen by like whatever premium I would pay you for the wine. It might be my perspective. I might pay on the utility.
Absolutely.
You might
which is all valuation, right? If you're selling excellence stock, it's your opinion versus mine.
So it's like someone buying that lot of wine for probably drinking it, but someone might buy it just to flip it, right, to some other buyer probably 2 years down the line. So exactly. So like coming to my next question is that mostly what. So when now let's go back. When crypto became mainstream, probably 2-3 years back, right, when a lot of projects started coming up, and especially in India also, they started taking blockchain as a serious technology, and they started building, like people started building a lot of services on top of it. So 97% or majorly, I was reading somewhere, so like majorly 97, the underlying technology will remain, but 97% of the projects built on top of that technology will probably collapse, right? And people are just flipping coins. Like there are so many crypto tokens out there, people are just flipping, probably Ethereum, Bitcoin, like VeChain. Some of the coins will probably sustain, right? And same is we believe that it's NFTs. Like, do you think that same is going to happen with NFTs 2-3 years down the line, because people are just taking benefit of these this FOMO factor which is going on? For example, there are a lot of tech millionaires who just want to buy NFTs because it's a revolution, right? They want to be part of it, right? So it's like there's some sort of dopamine like these gamers have, right? They want to own a skin, right? Similarly, people want to become part of this revolution. What is NFT? Let me just try. Let me spend 100 rupees and own an NFT, right? Even as simple as that. So do you think a lot of people are selling dreams of these NFTs, whereas and making money out of it? However, these projects will collapse down the line, and only some 1 or 2% will sustain.
Well, look, I mean, you can say that you can make that argument about anything, right? Like you can make that argument about startups as well.
Right.
A lot will fail, some will succeed, right? So I think that mortality argument is ever present in all types of businesses. I don't think that argument is unique to the Web3 world. Coming to your point around that, do people want to flip stuff right now? Yeah, everyone wants to make money, right? Everyone likes making easy money. And sure, there'll be market cycles where we go up and where we go down. Directionally, what you need to believe, or directionally, what at least I believe, is that will each local maxima be bigger than the last local maxima? For sure, right? NFTs is not a new concept. OpenSea has been around for like 5-6 years now, right? So I'm sure there were NFTs in a different shape or form back in 2017, 16, 15 as well. So it's not a new concept, right? It's been around there. But yeah, I mean, what is happening is that with each development cycle, right? Like each, I would say 2-year development cycle, you are seeing more and more built on top of these NFTs, right? So the more utility you add here, the higher is the lock-in for the projects, right? And hence, like people will at some point say, oh, but okay, maybe I won't buy this at 100 Ethereum, but I will buy it at, 1 ETH, right? Like I will buy it at not 100 ETH, but yeah, sure, 1 ETH I can spend on this, right? Because they're seeing some utility or some value that justifies paying 1 ETH for that. Now, this again could be tangible or intangible. This could be in the form of whatever incentives and rewards they can earn on it, or it could be in the form of whatever vanity profile pictures that they want to use. But fundamentally, do I believe that each local maxima is going to be larger than the last? For sure. I don't doubt that.
Okay. And some of the, like, would you like to tell us some of the NFT projects that you are currently,
No. I think my our compliance team will shield me for access.
Got it. So I think NFT, you've given some some great concepts on how it unlocks liquidity, then very nicely compared it to Versace and this brand's values that it holds, right? Why people want to be part of them, and let's talk about another thing, which is like Metaverse, right? Like what exactly? It's a virtual world, right? We all know people like we are hearing news of a lot of artists going into Meta, holding concerts, right? And people buying land over there. But what is Metaverse like to be like from a terms of like for a normal user, right? What is it? Because Meta has like no limits, it's infinity, right? You can create unlimited Meta, right? So there's unlimited land, unlimited universe that can be created in Meta. So how is it valuable? What is it? What exactly is it?
Well, look, let's combine a couple of postulates that you said earlier, right? First being that only a very few of these projects will survive, right?
Yeah.
Second being that do people see value? Will people, the projects that will survive will have some sort of utility attached to them, right? Or the projects which will scale up will have some sort of utility attached to them. We don't know what exactly will be the form or shape of that utility, and different people will define utility in different ways. But there'll be some sort of utility attached to them. And I would say the third is that people, as they spend more and more time on the digital, like in the digital worlds, they would want to hold digital assets which signify something, right? So from a metaverse, now the question that you are asking is that if there is infinite supply, does something hold any value?
Yeah.
Right? Now, the situation is as follows, that there is actually not unlimited supply. You can start, like I can start a metaverse project tomorrow, but if I'm not able to like make it the right way, which is that if I don't have a community of believers around my project, if I don't incentivize them correctly, if I don't build utilities on top correctly, then my project is going to die down, right? Whereas there are projects like Sandbox, like Decentraland, where owning land makes sense because those projects have a lot of community around them, right? So and there's a lot of utility there. You can actually run valuation and pricing models, much like we do in our Web2 analog world, and see what kind of yields you will generate out of those assets, right? And coming back to the point, right, which is that in a sandbox world or a Decentraland world, the supply of the land is limited. Right? They write it in the white paper, they codify it in the blockchain and smart contracts. Boss, that I will only have 10,000 pieces of land that I will sell, for example. Right? So supply is constrained in the Decentraland world. Now, what you have to take a bet and believe on is if Decentraland is going to become big or not. And if it is going to become big, then my 10,000 pieces of land will have some scarcity value. One piece of land that I own will have some scarcity value because there is only 10,000 of those, right? So now again, we come back to the same point, that how do you ensure the success or the sustained success of your project, right? Which boils down to utility and how people see value there. So my point is that there might be 100 projects today which each have 10,000 pieces of land. Only 2 or 3 will survive. And that is where all the value will congregate eventually.
Right. Does network effect will have a role to play in this?
Definitely. Network effects, I think network effects takes network effects is present in the Web3 world in many manifestations. So first is the community, right? Everyone you talk to today in the Web3 world, like I think one of the most sought after and underrated roles today is someone who can build community for you very organically in a deep, meaningful manner, right? And that is not just running some ads or not just like running a Discord chat, but much more fundamental and deeper than that.
Right.
So these communities itself are a big network effects play, right? Everyone today recognizes Bored Apes because they have seen Bored Apes somewhere, or they have seen someone else talk about Bored Apes somewhere, and they want to be a part of that community and associate with that, or at least are curious about that. So that's one form, one manifestation of network effects in this business. Because the more community you get, the more is your followership of the project, right? Hence, more people are interested in the project itself, and that's why the floor prices keep on increasing for the project.
Yes.
So that's like sort of one biggest manifestation in which you see that happen, right? Now, another way in which network effects manifest themselves is as follows: these are all, in some sense, these are open source projects, right? Which are built on blockchains. People can fork. These are completely composable projects. You can build on top of each other, etc. So now, more and more people will congregate towards projects where there are already more users. So more developers will want to create more experiences in places where there already are people, right? More people, more experiences, more utility that people perceive. Then more people coming in, right? And that's how the cycle keeps on going. So that's another way in which network effects sort of play out on the supply side, right? Now, third is, I think, I'm sure I'll miss out a few, but another way in which network effects manifest themselves is the underlying liquidity and the value of the token itself, right? Which is that, sure, you have more developers and you have more sort of users. So what does that actually mean? That means that the floor price of your NFT collection or your land or whatever it is keeps increasing, right? Because more and more people are believing in that. Or even if more people are not believing in it, more people are at least just curious of what's happening and they want to be a part of that, so they'll buy it, right? So that's another way in which the network effects happen here. And then there is like other stuff in terms of how it impacts your total value log, how it impacts your yields, etc., which obviously is another discussion for some other time. But and very fast evolving as well. So I think network effects is a critical piece of Web3 because you are literally creating something out of thin air here.
Right. And it's also like, I think it's also relevant in the physical world because not every block of land holds similar value in physical world as well, right? Probably there's a land somewhere where there's no people, no facilities, no utilities, and we'll have it. So coming to that, if we talk about a decade from now, right? Is there can we say that? Can you give us some example of what we can actually do in Meta, right? Which is very simplistic when it comes to physical world, as simple as can we this? I was just thinking that probably we're discussing that we can go travel and we can actually see get into a Adidas showroom, buy a shoe, and it'll get delivered in the physical world. Something like that.
Yeah. Like there's actually a bunch of projects that are doing that, right? So what's happening is that sneaker market has taken off over the last few years, right? And there are like sneakerheads, rare sneakers, Yeezy sneakers, etc. So what a lot of brands are now doing is just like we use the Vineyard example, they are saying that every time you own you buy a Yeezy sneaker or someone else, brand X's sneaker, they'll give an NFT alongside, which signifies the ownership that this is actually a true copy of true part of that collection, and that this is one of 1,000 sneakers ever made in the world, right? So you have a certification of sort saying that this is truthful and this thing. And now you want to sell in the secondary market, you sell it, right? Like there's Instagram pages, there is much of places where you can sell this. You sell it there, and but then the NFT also transfers to the new owner so that he also can signify and claim this is the original, right? And eventually can resell it.
Right.
So I'm certain here that all of these things will happen. No doubt in my mind. I think anything that's non-physiological will basically have some way for you to do it in the metaverse. So you could date in the metaverse, as an example, right? I mean, again, Tinder has so many
probably a Bumble Tinder experience.
Yeah, I mean, Tinder Bumble has so many fake profiles, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you verify those? Right? And who's to say that tomorrow you you might not even want to date someone just based on their looks. You might want to say that, oh, let me chat with them a little bit, let's say in a metaverse first,
Right,
with their
right,
avatar. Let me hang out with their avatar, see what they like, what they
right,
don't like, right?
right,
And then maybe I meet them in person.
right, right.
So I mean, look, there's the possibilities are endless, which is why I say that anything that is non-physiological,
Mm.
like you can't eat food in the metaverse and have that increase your glucose levels, right?
Right, right,
Well, I don't think that's technically possible. Well,
right,
but I could be proven wrong.
right.
But yeah, probably anything that's non-physiological, you can probably do that, right? Like
Mm.
travel, exploration, and look, in some sense, yeah, we already do that, right? Like when you want to travel to some place, you would go to, I don't know, Google Maps and see what the place
Yeah, we
looks
do
like.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, you probably do
right.
that.
Yeah.
You want to book a hotel and you want to see what the hotel looks like.
We actually kind of, sometimes we go to Google Map, walk down the
Exactly.
street, go
Yeah.
to some places, actually try and stuff like that, right?
So you anyways do some of that.
Mm.
Right now it's scattered. Right now it's not a rich enough experience.
Right.
And yeah, I trust the developer velocity that will take us at some point.
Mm. Mm.
10 years, 15 years, who knows?
Right. Let's, Tushar, how about, traditional businesses? Now, when I speak about traditional businesses, let's probably pick up the art space, since there are a lot of people selling NFT art like Mona Lisa and all these paintings which are selling for NFTs. So, like, how can traditional art markets, right, are investors looking at that space where they are giving the experience of buying an art in a meta, like things like that, or is it a smaller space that probably, because end of the day, are you thinking of the potential of that art, that particular company who's selling art, or you will just because anyway they're not going to make that much big of a revenue, it's going to be a smaller market, right, for them. For example, art space is not well explored in the VC world. From that perspective, I want to talk to you about.
Well, look, I mean, VCs aren't the only investors, first of all, right? Like we
Right,
are seeing high net worth individuals have been buying art for donkey years, right?
right.
Similarly, I just saw yesterday, I think KKR and BMG bought John Legend's entire backdated catalog for some 500, and they bought Bruce Springsteen's backdated catalog for like 500 million bucks, right?
Right.
So I mean, look, there are people who have been investing in art for millions, for like hundreds of years, right? Like right from the time of Da Vinci to Michelangelo to to modern artists, right? People have been investing in art.
So it'll be right. So from that perspective, will it be right to say that tomorrow, if let's just say, I know for a fact that ICC is getting into selling cricket NFTs, right? Rohit Sharma is doing some NFTs of some sort of cricket moments and stuff, but I'm sure that doesn't cover the entire cricket history of India, right? So if there's someone who wants to cover, does ICC owns any footage from that perspective? Or can we just replicate it and sell it? Would it be like, what are the legalities of doing that? Like, can
Yeah,
any,
I'm sure they look, ICC is selling it, so ICC must hold the rights to it, and I'm
right,
certain of that, right? And whomsoever their partners are, they're doing what they're doing. Right?
right,
So I'm not getting into that. But again, what does that, like, your question at a base level means is as follows.
can it be replicated? That's
Can
what
it
I
be
want.
replicated, right? It's
Yeah,
the classic like right click, right? People put their bored apes and pudgy penguins as
right,
their profile pictures on Twitter,
right.
and people do a right click, download the image, and then sort
Yeah,
of put it back up.
yeah.
Sure, that is possible, and people do that. And by the way, that's not a great thing to do, right?
Right, right.
But anyways, people do it, which is fine, right? And that's a
Mm,
challenge that the NFT space has to overcome.
right. It's like, when ICOs used to happen, so a lot of people used to make fake, like exactly replicated websites in order to take those payments, right? Which are part of the
Yeah,
crypto
yeah.
scams,
So,
right?
so, so let's come back to this example. I'll
Yeah,
tell you where it's different. Right? Which is that you can copy the bored apes ka image and put it as a Twitter profile picture,
Hmm.
but what that will not let you do is that it will not give you the ownership of that certain bored ape, right?
Hmm.
So you still can't get into that yacht party. Remember the yacht party that was held in Miami,
Right,
right?
right.
You still can't get there.
And you
So
still can't flip it.
you still can't sell it, right? It's just a
Right,
profile picture and you have just copied it. Just fine. Like who
right,
cares, right? You do
right,
it. It's okay. You
right,
maybe signal to a certain audience that, oh, I'm also a Bored Apes user, right? But what that tells you is that even signaling that you are a Bored Apes user is valuable.
Right.
Or a Bored Apes owner is valuable.
Right.
So you can copy it, but you can't get the benefits associated with it.
Right.
Or maybe you can get a very, very small sliver of the benefits associated with it.
It's like you get copies of all these luxurious brands out there, but eventually you don't own it. Like
you
you
don't
don't
own it, right? Like,
you don't, yeah.
If you try to resell a Adidas knockoff,
Yeah.
you don't get anything out of it,
Right.
Like
Right.
no one buys it. People know that it's a knockoff, right?
Got it.
So and also what is happening is that you can copy a image and make it like a profile picture, which is fine, but you don't get to be a part of that community as it is, right? And the communities are very actively policing all of this stuff, right? So if tomorrow I were to put a Bored Apes as my profile picture on Twitter,
right.
And I don't own it, the
Right.
community will completely blast me, because it is in their incentive to make sure that none of this piracy is happening, right? And I think now there is from what I'm hearing is that Twitter and Facebook, Meta now, are both working towards creating a way in which you can verify your NFTs as profile pictures. So once that happens, then these guys are done. If you like, it's a very simple way, right? Like if you can connect your wallet address to Twitter, to your Twitter account, then Twitter knows whether you hold that NFT that you have put as a profile picture or not. It's as simple as that, right? Once that's done, all of this is toast. So this is a very, very small hiccup, I would say, and it's not like something that we have never seen. And yeah, I like this behavior will always continue to exist. I'm certain. Like even 10 years down the line, people will find a way to knock things off, but they will never get the value that is actually associated, or the benefits that are actually associated of being an owner. So I think, yeah, it's immaterial.
Right. So Tushar, you have any advice for people, primarily, in India, who are building for Meta, or, building a projects in NFT space? Any advice for them you have?
Look, I am grossly underqualified to give any sort of advice, right, on building anything.
Because a lot of people actually came to, when I told them I'm doing such thing, I'm doing a podcast with Tushar, and, we looks at NFT and Web3 space very closely. So one thing, they had all these ideas of doing, they have this utility, but one channel where they were struggling is how to build that community. So what channel to find for building NFTs, because it's not built on Instagram, it's not built on Facebook, right? So what are the right channels how to activate these communities for your projects in Web3 space?
Look, I think this is the holy grail of Web3, right? If you can build a very strong, very engaged community, then you have it, right? Then you basically have a very, very solid project. And I think community policing or community management is a task that you will never run out of, right? Even like large projects like SushiSwap always keep running into troubles with their community, and they have to manage stuff, right?
Right.
So I mean, yeah, you have to start somewhere. In terms of the channels, it's fairly well set. Yeah, people are hanging out on Discord quite a bit, and people are hanging out on Telegram quite a bit. You're right; it's not happening on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. But broadly, I would say Facebook and Instagram. Twitter is where a lot of people again hang, put their opinions about. But yeah, the channels are fairly well set. I think what people should also think about is how do you weave community in as a part of your strategy, and not think of it as something that only gives you validation, right? So getting early feedback, just like we said, right, that there's a famous book, The First 100 Users, right? How do you get your first 100 users who actually love you? You have to follow the same sort of mental ethos when you're building for this space. Sure, the channel, the way to build it, etc., will be different. But yeah, I think the sooner you engage your community, the sooner you build it, and the more invested you make them feel in a part of your process. I think this is again fairly obvious standard advice, but I don't have much more to give because I'm not building myself.
And do you own any NFTs? Like, what all NFTs do you own as of now?
Well, I own 6 NFTs right now.
Yeah.
But again, my compliance will shill me. So
no, just not from a professional perspective, but from a personal, from a consumer perspective, what would you suggest, in order to invest in an NFT space?
I have no investment advice to give anyone. because again, I'm a part of certain projects that I really enjoy
Right.
hanging there.
Right.
Certain communities I really enjoy, and some that I just like took for trying.
Right.
But yeah, the level of engagement I have in utility-driven NFTs is much higher than what I have in just like, okay, there's some white paper I read and okay, cool, let's try it.
Right.
And again, I would say that do not buy NFTs as a way of flipping it or thinking about it. Be invested in them. Have fun, right? This is a new world that's being created in front of us. Be
Right.
motivated, think creatively, participate, engage, right? Like that's how you actually make the best use of this opportunity in front of us, not
Right.
by reading some articles or being part of those, buy sell community.
Yeah.
People will make
And,
money, it's fine.
yeah.
It's more about soaking it in, enjoying yourself,
Right.
and yeah, I really enjoy myself in the communities that I'm a part of, right? So there's
Right.
one community where we play games together.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm making lots of new friends, which I wasn't making earlier.
Right. Right.
And I chat with them about certain games. We have fun.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's I would say it's as much about feeling membership as it is about having ownership, right? And the
Right.
owner versus member mentality is a little different,
Right.
and sort of
Right.
Web3 and NFTs collapse that.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
So I think it's a great note to end upon, and rightly mentioned that don't go for those FOMO stories where people made millions in buying
yeah,
NFTs and all those things. Instead, be more like become a member of that community, right? And
yeah,
actually believe in that.
yeah.
So on that note, we'll. I think it was great talking to you, Tushar, first of all, right? And it's awesome
Likewise,
how you
likewise.
decoded NFTs, how you decoded Meta, how you decoded the what it unlocks for us, in next coming years. And thank you for being with us, and
No,
thanks for
actually,
your
pleasure
time,
is
man.
mine, man. Terribly excited to see what's happening.